Hello people, and welcome to the part 2 of my work in progress over here. So I did finish the retopology off stream and off cams just to, speed up the process a little bit. And I did manage to fix the circles just a little bit in that. Yeah, so the next part I would need to do now is just to get this all together. So I'm going to try to merge and apply all of these shortly, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I figured out a way to do this. So if we can't use the mirror modifier, then what we can do is that we can copy and paste this, and then for now just temporarily hide this one over here. We take this object over here, the duplicate, go to object, transform, nope, my bad, mirror, and then mirror globally, and then this will be over here. And the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna remove these two mirrors together, and we're gonna get this to join together. So we Control J. Yeah, that's what I did, Control J to join them. So I guess they need to be applied before doing that. Let me rewind then. Ah, so now I can use the mirror modifier. But now there's something over here. There we go, now I can apply the mirror. And we can hide this for now. Then we need to edit this, and then we can tell all this information here to merge. Unless they already did. Oh, this could be an issue. Alright, I'll have to figure this out. Okay. I am back, so I managed to apply all my modifiers together and ensure that everything was working and attached to the thing. So now we got a full retopo body here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try to put certain things together to see if there's any other things we need to retopologize. If not, I think most of it's good to go though. We just need to retopologize that body. So we're going to have this shave smooth on, so that will be enabled and stuff. And then now let's see. Excuse me, we have our body parts here. I gotta turn off front all though. I wonder, is there a way to turn that off for now? Display wire, okay, got it. I'm just gonna drag this back into that. We can turn it off for now because we can just enable all over here for now at the time being. I'm gonna scale this down opacity here. We'll need all here and just lower the opacity. I just need to load it enough so I can see what's going on here. Okay, since they have so what I need to do now is to create a duplicate of this. And we're gonna add the suffix later to it, or maybe now. I know there's a button for that just to batch rename, but that would just take up the whole thing. And then I think we would have to duplicate this just to merge this all over here to make sense with the topology that we made. So we're gonna call this high. We're gonna apply all these, and then the mask. So now the geometry is real on this one, and then we're gonna merge these together. Control J should do it. Should be a way. Okay, what's causing not them to merge? Alrighty, I am back, so now we're going to try a different way over here. So it was in object mode, so that's why it wasn't merging. So we need to figure out another way to merge these together. All I want them is to merge. Can we merge them together? Not let me doing it. So why not? Okay. So this is a weird issue. Alright, let me look this up real quick. Yeah, but that's not. Maybe it's to do apply. There we go. I see this button over here. Okay, so whatever reason, Control J doesn't work. But I can just do like object then hit join here. So because I keep hitting Control J, because I'll do it again. Control J. See, I was on Control. So not Shift J, not Alt J, and Control J is not doing it. So that's weird. Maybe that's a bug, I don't know. But hitting join button did the trick. And now since we're all merged together, we can call this, we'll put this over here, and then we'll delete this one. Call it high res. And we'll hide the high res for now, because I want to see the tris count for this. So overall it's 14,000 that. And it's up to me if I want to reduce the cloth. But overall everything else is good, because this is going to be a flat object here. But in any case, I think most of our resolution is being caused by this skull over here. Yeah, because there's 960 tris. This could be reduced or lowered down, actually. So if we do file save, and file save as, and then hiding all this other information here, we'll take away the wireframes for now, and just keep skull here, and mini lobe here. This can be over here. It can be in front, display wireframes, display wires, and then add mirrors and other modifiers. And then we can remove the subdivision. We don't need that. And that target will be the high. Where's the high? So where's the move over here? Okay, so it's already in the center for the pivot. I was gonna justify it because we go to edit here and then item over here, and then we can always hit auto pivot edit. Then it will just move this over here in the center, and then go back to edit mode and go back to this, and then we can disable the mirror on this. Or maybe we can still have the mirror, but the object would have to be, oh, there we go. Look at that. We got it connecting. Or maybe we don't need it. Oh, it's globally doing it. So we can just actually turn this feature off. Oh, maybe we need it after all. Yeah, we'll just keep this on for now. Okay, and then, and we're gonna make this easier on ourselves. We're gonna add a modifier, generate, and then remesh. See if we can get it to respond. Otherwise, remesh, hit remesh. Okay, so it does respond. In a way. But I want to lower down the resolution. We'll fix poles. See what we get. Get something like this. Nope. Alrighty, remesh 0.05. No, 0.5. Remesh. See what we get. I mean, we're close, but I don't know what's going on over here. But the problem is that it's creating this weird, and whenever we do fixed poles, it just creates this weird thing. And are we lowering down face? We did lower down some faces though when we did this, but now there's like certain weird gaps here that it's creating. Maybe it has something to do with the faces over here, because all these faces are still a circle to this. And that same thing goes under here too as well. So if I patch this up, maybe we're better off doing this manually, actually. So we'll just go back to edit mode on here. And then we can remove those triangles and then turn them into quads. Wow, this seems to ignore this. Faces, there we go. And then we can seal this up properly. You know what? Actually, we might be able to get away to have deleted faces on here to save some triz. Actually, just realized that. Because what are we actually going to see here? I mean, of course, we're going to see at the top. But what about the other equipment here? Because since this is going to be like, I mean, the cloth is going to bounce here for sure. But are they going to really see the back? As long as it's sticking onto the body itself. But if I choose to put this on the side over here, over there, then when his shoulders come down, it's going to put it sideways. Nah, I'm not going to take the risk of removing holes in here. Because what if the fabric itself kind of like shift itself and pulls, and then you see holes on the backside, which is a no can do. So we'll have to do this in a way. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Okay, so actually, wait, I just thought of something. If we're playing by the gravity rules here, then we're still going to have to use this too as well to mirror. Wait, what's going on here? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, how did these get merged together like this? That doesn't make any sense at all. Alright. I guess something in the process, something happened. I have to disable in shade smooth, and then display wire. Okay, and then apply, and then apply, and then apply. What's this imaginary web here? Oh, that's in front. Oh, I see. Hello, Sue D2M. How's it going? I'm doing a little bit of a topology cleanup. How's the week going for you? Hello, Vid. How's it going? What am I making? Right now I am just making my 3D avatar. I'm going to do like certain things with it. Just have a little bit something to like as part of the things that I wanted to update my stream look a little bit. So instead of not always using like 2D drawing, I want to use reuse like certain assets of 3D just to have something going around with the stream, especially when I'm making GIFs or emojis for this one. Yeah, so I'm just taking a little break of one of my other bigger projects. I had two big projects, but I reached like a certain milestone and was kind of like happy just to take a break from 3 weeks, so I can just work on some mini projects too. So, and then also I'm taking the time out just to make the social media stuff like a bit better on appearance-wise. And plus I felt this was a good opportunity to understand the sculpting side of Blender, because last year I did a lot of Blender animation before I slowly start no longer using ZBrush. I used to use Maya back when I was a student, but it was once free for me, of course, because that's the benefits of being a student. But yeah, the reality is it's too expensive for me to get. So I'm just gonna use Blender for the time being. One time I tried to just live stream like you, but YouTube disabled it for me. Interesting. How many subs do you have for stream? Because I think you usually have it on either 50 subs or 100 subs to grant you access to live stream. Now I'll just double check for any like circular or anything like missing holes that I asked it to delete. I think the low poly of the poncho is fine, so we're gonna just start using. Hi Aiden, how's it going? You're new? Well, welcome to the stream. I do a mixture of 2D and 3D stuff to share, but I usually stream every once in a week because everyone's got a life. Yeah, no problem. If you got any questions, just let me know. How are you? Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing some research the past few days that led me to pause on this project just for a little bit. I did a little research about how Gojot's GD script worked, and it's very interesting because I was used to more doing blueprints in Unreal because they have their own coding language. What is this game's name? Oh, for this one, for last week I was working on my game project, but I mean, of last couple weeks ago. But for this one is just a small project that this one is just a little break. This one's going to be like the avatar on my stream, since I'm kind of updating my stream's look a little bit, especially with the other few stickers I want to add on to for other things that I plan to do outside of YouTube for decals. So this is just a nice fun activity for me to understand the sculpting side of Blender, because I used to you do a lot of sculpting in a different software like ZBrush and Maya, and it's just a little bit different. It's just some buttons are different. It just looks like the same thing. It looks like a 3D print. Yeah, 3D print also derives from 3D models too. It's just they have a different pipeline to look out for than doing animations or gaming development. Because for gaming development, quads are like really important and all the low polys and stuff. And 3D, I think you can get away with certain things because it wouldn't matter when the machine prints it out. But yeah, but they both derive from the same early idea software of 3D. You're good at this. Well, I did spend 4 years learning in college for game design, so. Alright, I'm back. And the question, do I play Fortnite? I used to play Fortnite back when I was in high school, but then I don't anymore. I heard the native tools in Blender, they update certain things about it. So maybe I should give those a try. It should be... I'm looking for a project from view. Okay. Because it's supposed to be in UV wrap mapping. I mean, I can understand where it doesn't work manually, but I don't want it, like, automated. Is it minimal stretch? Okay. I guess it's minimal stretch. Mark seam. And then there should be like a straighten option here. Okay, then it's there. And let's see if this one works. Oh, now it works. Okay, good. I was just glad on the game, bro. Thank you. Yeah. So for this one, I'm just doing a little bit of a practice run over here for the software-wise in Blender, since I'm trying to transition away from ZBrush. So I'm just basically figuring out which certain buttons would go to in Blender then to work with what I'm doing here. So, but this one is like a small mini project here, so I'm just, my plan is to use this model for the avatar stuff. So on my streams I can create much more easier emojis and GIFs for on the stream. But it feels like a little bit strange because I'm used to with Maya UVing, where you can see your UVs on here. So, but I had to manually set up the projections of like where I'm going to guess to where to see my squares in that, because you used to be able to see well in Maya you can see your UVs as if it's already out there, if it's out there or not. If I have an object that's like selected but doesn't have to select the dots to see the others. But this one you have to select all to see your UVs. You get, yeah, cool. I gotta sleep. We live in time zones. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, you're the opposite side of a world. I mean, to me, this is my morning. But I did made like a recording of my video log of me working on this, like more of a shortened size down of it. But I know it's 2 hours long, but it has like different chapters and stuff, so you can like skim through it. But yeah, feel free to view that on your own time. And then go to object mode, close to CDM, and alright, let's see what happened. Oh, the margin. Oh, looky there. Interesting. And then there's the margins here. I think we can scatter the margins a little bit down. And then Pack Islands. Okay, we found it. And axis align. Scale rotate, actually margins. Let's see what happens if we do 0.5. Oh, that's not going to work, probably. No, I'm better off to manually change the margins. It's not that bad. But that's a nice niche thing then. Yep, it did it. Okay, I don't have to manually moved it. It was 0.01. Okay, this looks great. The only thing I would say, the only feedback, is that this, however, is unreasonably too big. The head is it's even like a small piece for that. So the resolution should be a lot smaller. So I'm gonna do a little bit tweaks on here, but it's much more of a scale thing. And then scale it, and then we're just gonna shrink it. Not the whole thing. Alrighty, I just only want those, but why it's taking the whole thing? Because I feel the body and the head should be a lot bigger. Not this piece over here. Because this should be a lot smaller, like small as this. At least the resolution size should be this small. And then, go back to object mode. And then, edit mode. And then this should be a lot bigger. Alright, good. Good enough. And then we'll head back to the body here. In terms of resolution. Alrighty, and then we'll double check on the head too. Because the head... This head thing. This is not the head, but it's just a prince badge. That should be this size. So now none of them will get compromised in terms of size. And then I'll be like, select all here. And I'll go back to edit mode. And then we'll try this all again. Pack islands. Pack. Do it again. Okay, we got much better results now. And then I'll have to do color ID another time. Or no, not another time, just to probably get this all together. Because color ID would be another form of masking. Actually, it might be easier to get the color ID done now. Texture 2. Call that. And this can be any color. And theoretically, should put it on the ground. Just curious, does it affect all of them? Oh, so it does. Good enough. And then good enough. And then I'll just move this all back in the center here. 0, 0, 0. Perfect. And now I'm gonna look over setting up color ID. Because there's something over here for the head I want to detect. Especially with over here with the fingers too as well. I think I want to temporarily just change the materials though for the color ID. Only for this branch over here. Well, I only need this one, so this can be like a bit out. Ooh. I think the last time in near VM kind of had a little glitch struggle a little bit. So with that in mind, I do have some alternative ideas to do my color ID. But I might have to do it in a separate software. But we'll see what happens first. And see how far we get. Of course. So as of for now, I will try it again with a different version in Blender. Because that's where before the glitch happened and avoid using the mask and just try to manually create it from there. So we're just going to hide this for now. Excuse me. Alright. And we're just going to go head over to texture paint. Gonna try this again one more time. Excuse me. Getting a little bit of a something in my throat, but hey. It's the winter. Somewhere around would be the textures here. I'm just going to temporarily just minus that. Create new material. I'm just going to call it color ID. Move/split area. There we go. And this is going to be shader editor. Close that out. And I'm going to go to add, well, Shift A. Texture, image, connect that to here. And we're going to do a new one over here. Now, I do want this to be at least have some color in here. So we're going to start off with this color over here. Call this color ID. It doesn't matter what color do we start with. It's just easier for me to see. And then we'll just do a color ID here. And then we're going to bring out the wireframes. There we go. So I can paint on here, so that's good. That's a good start indication. So we're going to file, save as. Not like the other version, because whatever happened over there got bugged. So now what I'm missing is that the symmetry, so we're going to find a way to enable that. I'm going to hide all of this information here. And we're definitely going to use the pixel brush, because we don't need any opacity or anything. Alrighty guys, I'm back. So the problem was that the screen was too small. So I ended up having to go over here to the layout. Because texture and when you have too many screens going on, you can't really see a bottom cell. I was curious why I wasn't able to paint and stuff like that. So we'll just use this come back as reference if we need to set up anything. But most likely we can just use the layout over here and just texture and paint over that. And we'll be just fine. So I think we're going to select the pixel art brush because I don't need consistent. So now we can just select over here. Change it to any color you want, and then start painting. Because I don't need any special shading or anything. Or it's just straight up maybe this brush. Okay, so far that one. What if it's this one? Oh, that looks like it has a blur to it, so we might have to stick to this one. Because we stick to this one. Let's see. That one has a blur to it too. It would be the same, so it wouldn't make any sense. So we would have to stick to the pixel. Alright, and then we'll just change the size over here. Get this red here, because we need this whole side to be red. Yeah, this is like way easier to do it this way. Then I have more control where to put the color IDs at. I wonder how, is there an eraser button for this? Okay, I guess that's not gonna work out. Let's see. What if we... I wonder, does black count as a color ID? Gotta find that out. Flat. There we go. Much easier. So now I can easily manipulate this. Because if it's all the same color, then it should be much more easier. Just giving it an update, so yes, be sure to keep your pixels by 2K, so you won't get any weird, because I thought it was something off with it. I thought it was just something else, but no. Also, another thing to keep it in mind. Make sure to be on Paint's hard pressure. Set it to mix, have it dynamically, and scale down your brush to 73 pixels, so when you zoom out, you can paint much bigger and smaller at the same time, so you can less hassle technically just adjusting it. And then you're going to change your fall off to constant, and make sure no brush or spacing is happening here, so lower down to reduce to 1%. So whenever you paint big or small, you don't get this like weird mixed blending of cast shadow happening. Because what's going to happen if there's any like shadows on your color IDs, it's not going to work well when it comes to masking. When it comes to masking. There we go. So you can see over here, now it's creating this like a little layer. So it won't interfere, and then you can totally blend this simultaneously in Substance Painter. Alrighty, I am back, and guess what? I finished my color ID, so now we're going to export this as a texture. So we're going to go back to Texture Paint, and we're going to select what we need. So, let's see. There's going to be a way to export this. Probably be over here. We'll hit save, and we'll color as PNG. Now we could do PNG, or I don't think Targa would work for this one. Yeah, but I think it would have to be PNG. And we shouldn't lower the compression at all. I want it to be fresh. So we're gonna take this to, let's see, yeah, right over here. And we'll just create a new folder for this. Call this texture files. I'm going to say color ID for now, hit save as image. And then we're just going to check right over here in our folder to see if it's all there. And then when we start doing the rigging process, we'll have to import them to a new Blender file just to clear out the old stuff. Now, I know there's like file cleanup, but I would rather just have it start out fresh on a fresh file. Alrighty, I'm back, just to let you know, and I did some configuration with the FBX, so I made a little preset for Substance Painter, so I just transferred the scale to 0.1 just to ensure it's scaled to centimeters, and then we have just only select the mesh and select as objects, and then we can export it as that. And then I just named them to like low, high, so Substance Painter can recognize that. Alright guys, so just one little quick, I did a little oopsie daisy, so technically I'm not supposed to put some prefixes to bake those, I'm supposed to put some suffix to bake those, so mesh by name would work in Substance Painter, so my bad on my part. So we're just gonna have to rename those and re-export them, so basically we'll use the batch rename for this one, but I don't think the batch rename can't rename, it can name suffix maybe? I don't know. It says stripped characters. Set name. Oh. Okay, so what if I'm just gonna have to remove all this first. The name for that. And I'll have to do the whole thing like that. So let me just rename all of them. I'll try it that way. And then we'll just have to select over here. And we'll just hide this for now. And then edit batch rename. Selected. Set name, add suffix, underscore low. Hit OK. There we go. And that's how you fix it. And I'll just do the rest same thing. And we'll just re-export them as Substance Painter. Alrighty, we are in Substance Painter. So now what we're going to do is hit File New. We're going to start with Blender Assets because I'm going to do something with the whole Blender animation thing. Since we're not going to be doing export anything to Godot or Unreal, we're just going to keep everything in Blender because I just need some snapshots and assets for GIFs or still images too, in case I need from other things X, Y, and Z. So we're going to have Blender Assets, and we're going to select File. And then we're going to choose this one over here. And then compute per tangent, use CNCS for flow. Now we're just going to leave everything as it is. We don't need to import any big maps or anything. We're good on that. And we need 2K, so we're okay. So we're going to load that way through. And it's going to load our 3D object here. So, and then, let's see, we're going to enable backface calling on this because it's going to need some. So, we're just going to put double-sided. And we're going to change the main shader to, well, actually the studio light. Once we get the display port, there we go. And I'm going to select to soft low 1 for this one. Alright, so that's the first step. And then we're going to file save as. And we're going to create our new file. MLDF avatar, and we're going to have V01. Alrighty. Next, what we're going to do is that we're going to go to baking. And we're going to change this to 2K. We're going to uncheck ID because we made our own. Go to these common settings. And then we're just going to go over here and select the high poly. So it's going to scan to collect. And it has that. And then we're going to set to from match to mesh by name. So everything appears to be naming correctly together. So this is, we'll have like a different efficient way of baking this. And we're going to do some testing shortly. Because usually 80% of the time baking does work. And over 20% of the time you still have to clean some things up. And then we're going to try to test baking here. First run. Alright, and then we're going to return to painting mode, see if everything goes on here. Alright, everything looks so smooth and crisp under here, that's good. What about this side over here? Ooh, so right over there, that would need to be some adjusting right over there when we do some editing on there. And then I wonder if I only selected this one, how would this would? Ah, I see. So the way that's baked on here, it looks like it's connected to there. So that is interesting. Obviously we caught some few errors here as well. So we're just checking to see any of our areas are good. But I did like how the bottom was, that was like interesting. So it looks good to me on there. Other than that, those are the two weird parts I would need to edit over. And then re-import. And then I got this like weird spot over here. So we're just gonna go back to baking. And we're gonna try some few runs here. I'm gonna try to increase dilution. Decrease the max rear distance. And we're gonna try see if we get a different results here. Check and return painting mode, see what else we get. Pretty much get the similar results we had before. Oh, I see, kind of a little bit worse over here. So, edit, bake maps. We're going to revert back to see if this was the root of cause of it. See, we get a different generation here. Usually we'd take off anti-annihilation and just have that in there. So ignore back face. We could try ignore back face to see if it changed anything else. Though. Now, I could remove this top of the head just to get rid of that weird shade there. But I could leave it alone. So, I like how things are, and then I can just work from this. So, we're going to maximize the super sampling there, and just hit bake. So, I'm going to let that process. And throughout the whole entire time, we're not going to paint anything on the top of there. We're going to do this on a raster program for 2D, like Clip Studio. Because I have something for like EX that I can do 2D animations for fire sprite. Then I can cook up like a flip book for it so the fire can just keep going like forever. But it's planning to like stretch on top of it. So for most likely the whole entire time when we're painting this, we're only going to probably export the only texture set 1. Because the whole baking process of the hair of the poly over there will most likely be hidden in the process since it's going to have like a gradient fire. So most likely we will be sculpting painting like this the whole entire time. So we'll do this in a separate program. Alrighty, since now we got this all baked, so it's time to do some cleanup over here. Clean with the normals over here. So if we switch to the normal, well, once it loads. Or as it should. Because, okay, mesh map's normal. There we go. See that over there? We're gonna get rid of that spot over here. I'm gonna check this spot too as well, but I don't think we would need some sort of like that. Based on my guess. But we'll double check just to make sure. Because this one looks fine over here. And then ambient occlusion is the one we've also got to change too. Yeah. The ambient occlusion too, as well. So we will start with the normal. And we're going to target this one first. So what we'll do first is that we're going to create a folder here called norm fix. And we're going to call this norm bake fix. And we're definitely going to have to save this as a third file, v3. So whenever you port into v2, we can easily just swap the bake textures. So norm fix, and then we're going to have a fill layer here. I'm going to call this norm fill. And what we're going to do now is temporary turn all the normal mixing to replace, and then the height to, well, why is ambient occlusion? Oh, that's because it's not added in the system. So we will just add ambient occlusion into the system, and then now we can change to replace. And we're just gonna X those two out here. Well, one of them for now, and then we'll delete the other one later. And then what we're going to do, since that now it's in there, we're going to manipulate this to only norm, and we're going to select our norm maps here. That's bent normal, but I'm looking for a normal map here. And that's going to select that. But now, since you don't see anything else for now, it's because we got to change this to normal right here, and then we're gonna select normal, and we're gonna select class for the normal fixed paint, so then it can just paint overlay using the clone stamp tool and stuff, and we'll just turn this layer to normal, and then we're gonna go right over to the top normal material here, and then we're gonna see our normal. So now, what we're going to do is select the paintbrush over here, and then I like to use a different alpha of shape. So we're going to go search for shape, and we're going to choose the blurriest one, which is the cone shape. And we're only going to select normal over here, and then we're going to keep it the opacity to 50-50. And then as for the clone and the smudging tool, we could probably do something with the clone, actually. Nah, cloning may be faster. And then we can do clone then smudge, which is a quick strategy. So we're going to do clone, but we're still going to need that cone shape over here. And then, what else are we going to do? The stroke opacity needs to be lowered to a decent. And we can get started painting this. I wonder. Huh, I still remember my older brushes. Cool. Cool. What about cross-hatching? There's Photoshop cross-hatching, and then there's my cross-hatch brushes that I made. They're still there too. Cool. We can do something with those later. I wonder, since you can, well, you can only import Photoshop brushes in there. The behaviors with that, it would still have to be converted though. We'll think of something. So, I wonder, is there any soft brush? I wonder I made a basic soft. There's that, and there's that too. I don't think I made a basic soft like this other one here. Oh, that's the same. Oh, that's the same. I can tell. Alright, well, I'll know that for next time. So yeah, you can create multiple brushes here too and that, and have save preferences if you like a certain setup here. And then what we're going to do now is that we're going to select, get a little closer and select V. V to set the target for clone process. And then we're just going to hit dabble. Dabble, 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 dabble. And then that will go away eventually. But although I do feel that it's attached to something here. I could be wrong though. Okay, so it could be a pinch from the arm itself. That's my guess. But we'll have to see where this goes, because if I let's say if I disable double-sided, what would happen? Okay, so nothing happened, so over here. So we're gonna leave this double-sided enabled still. So it's up to me how I want to handle this one. Because technically it's gonna clip a little bit over here. And that's why I'm getting the other parallel here. So in any other case, it's probably going to appear on the other mesh. But just for safekeeping, I think I'm going to say we're going to select brush. We're going to check blur maybe? Nah, halftone. Or probably that. All libraries, your starter assets. What's my assets here? I know I made some brushes before. No, let's not smudge it. We'll just leave it as is. It's good enough. Export textures, and then now I did created my own custom method to this to export. So we're going to use mesh map fix, and it's basically based on the same formula of the name coding over here, but instead it will be targeting these input maps instead, because what we're since we edited them, they're no longer going to be in this space, they're going to be in that space when we're exporting them. And then, after selecting this, where is it? We're going to select it over here, and we're going to have 16-bit. We don't need texture 2, so we just need that. And we need 2K, because that's what we set it on. Let's export, and then we're going to change the output directory, of course. Do something that's much more to where I'm targeting. Create a new folder. Bake maps fix. Select folder. Yeah, we can change the name of the list of exports, so export. There we go. So now we know it's successfully transferred. So now what we're going to do is hide this for now. We're going to do our texture sets. And we're going to add ambient occlusion over here. File, save as, version 4. Yeah, and these substance files can get big over time. I'm going to close this and close that. And then over to your assets, we're going to import add resources, big maps fix. Just select those. Undefine. Now, ambient inclusion, it's going to be an alpha, and then this one will be a texture, so it can be its colors over there, and then optional prefixes, and then we'll report the resources to the project here, and then import. So it'll remain in this file, and then I'm going to drag this over here to the ambient occlusion, or it's already dragged here. Okay, should recognize it soon for that one, but we see the normal is recognized here. Fix texture, so that's applied here. What should be? Ah, I see. So it wants me to remain. Okay, I think I have to show in. We're gonna have to delete. Yeah, we're just gonna have to re-import it as a texture then, because it's not showing it as anything else. And then we'll select ambient occlusion over here. Now we got to figure out why is it like this, kind of look like that a little bit. Like it's a little bit off from here. Holy fuck. It is inverted. Yeah. Check this out. It is inverted. I don't know why it does that. Look. That's why it's not looking right. It's inverted for whatever reason. So, to resolve this issue, there is a way we can invert textures in here. So we're going to take that away. So, and it's going to change the, yes, of course this, so it's going to, bear with me. Maybe we have to actually plug in the texture sets over here, because it did connected it over here to get it over here. And maybe it will reload it differently. Ah, wait. That's probably why. Yep, that's probably why. It did a little glitch. So we gotta put this on here. So we're gonna have to re-export all of these. Oh, it does. We're good. We're back in business. So here's the newer one. And here's the old one. So you can see the normal's been fixed, so we're good. So that was the issue. Okay. And now we're gonna hit open. Probably go back to version 4. Maybe it will reload. Nope. Alright, and then we're gonna have to take those out, take those two. We'll just do file open again. Do this version. Discard. And then take those out. So we're going to add here. Add resources. And we're going to go over here. Call this texture. And then texture. Import it to here. File. Save as. Here. Yes, replace. And now we can drag this over here. Put the normal map in here. And it'll reload. There we go. And look at that. It took the fix, and I think so. I would love to believe that it's fixed. Maybe. Okay. So maybe it has to go through a slight redo. Not so much for that one, so that's good. It's not obvious. I want smooth. Okay, so what if I hide here? How would that do? Okay, so yeah, that covers that. Goes down over here. And then goes down over here. You know what? It's not that bad. I'm not going to bother too much with it. It's very hidden. We're good. I think we can actually get started with the painting process now, since we did all the technical stuff. Yay. And then we're going to exit those out. Now, for starters... Oh, wait. Almost one more thing. We got to import the color ID that we created specifically for this. Files, color ID. Then this will be a texture. Import. And we'll just throw a color ID map in here. So we can check to see if it works by going over here. And then boom! Look at this, the ID. Although, yeah, I'm not worried about that being. Maybe I should. Never really thought about that till now, for that to be ID'd. But it should be a quick fix though. Because if we're gonna ID spam, I know we could use masks just to do that, but then that'll cause probably some problems. Yeah, we should have color ID'd those two. Alright, and then we'll just do that real quick in Blender. Alrighty, and then we'll just go back over here. And then we'll go to... We're going to select all these, and then we're going to shift it towards to materials over here. And we're going to temporarily switch them all to the other one. Okay. So wait, what happened to our ID? Did it survive? I don't think it survived. No worries. I still have the file, thank goodness, so I can just recreate it. For now, I think we can flush this out with full fill color here, and that should be a quick fix. So we're going to choose yellow, of course. Remove fire plane. Get the cloth. Hide the skull thing. Hide this. And now we can do it. And this is going to be all yellow, or any color. And fill. There we go. Perfect. And what color should I use? We'll use kind of like a orange. Yeah, we'll go with orange. There we go. Is it all there, or... Oh no, it's all there. It's all there. We're good. It was bugged. Yeah, it looks like it did. So we're good. Minimize that. And then we can head back over to Substance Painter. And we can delete this resource here. Get rid of that. And then we can re-import it. Now there won't be any like weird interferences now. Save that for now. And we'll go back to layers over here, and now we can actually get started. So let's see what assets we have we can use here, because I know I made my own smart materials in the past. So let's see if it's still there. If not, I can easily just create my own. It's no biggie. I just need a starting base, and then once I get to a certain point, I'll start creating my own textures, because I do have like a pretty much a slightly glob water effect kind of like thing, and also like a kind of a slime under that skin, so we're gonna have to create something like that. Oh, my procedural value colors. Alright, let me see if I can drag that out as a starting point, because I have this. It's my early graduate. Because light here, and curvature, and world space. And then we can use this as a starting point somewhere. And then we can apply this mask somewhere. Now, when you do stuff, you can easily create fill and actually do certain masking around here to create. You can do black masks and stuff like that. And then the filters or the... Let's see. If you want to add a generator, that's fine. And that would basically give you what you need to do in your properties here. And then you can select which one you want. And then you can get that result. This is just a faster process if you already made some already. And then you can go right click. And then there's a button that you can convert into, create a smart material right here. And then that's what you do. And then store it in your library. So, what else? What else is here? I made the mask, so I should probably add a mask here. Yeah, we should add a black mask. Add a mask with color selection. Okay. I think we'll start off with a mask here. And see how far that goes. See where it gets. And it seems like it goes all the way up to here to do it, which that is fine. You know, I should probably remove the blue for this mask, because you see the way it's going a little bit over here and over here. Yeah, I should probably let the red just flood into over the mask over here. So let me update that real quick. So it can get better full effect on here. Then I'll manually paste the black paint around here. And then we'll work around based on that. That means we'll have to create the mask in Substance Painter instead of letting Color ID do the thing. So, fortunately, we tried the blue thing, didn't work out precisely. So, we're just going to go back to layout. And if we're going to go back to the body low over here, I'm going to ask to, hey, can we paint? And there you go. And then we're going to eliminate all this blue nonsense here, which we did try that. Didn't work out, my friend. I'm sorry. Here we go. And then we're going to fill this. Turn everything red. It's not what I want. Alright, we're just going to have to brush it in then. Didn't work out. Yep, and we're just going to get rid of that. That's a simple fix. And it's all resolved. See how easy you can change your color ID if you change your mind? And then it'll just auto-update. Kind of great. And then this over here, whatever has this section with pixelated, we can easily fix that with a blur. So, we'll work on that soon. Because it seems like it goes a little bit over here. And it doesn't go over here as much. But we'll see, we'll see. We'll have to play around with it. Now we just gotta change the colors on these properties here. And we're just gonna handpick this. Here we go. We can also change the behavior of a curvature too as well, if we need to. And then a grade here, and then go here. There's my old swatches. We're gonna clear all my swatches because these are old. And then I think we'll also apply that to here on the badge too as well. Nothing rough or metal or anything, no norms, just black. So now we can see the coat. I know there are certain things that you shouldn't keep black of completely anything, but the nice thing I like to do is why I start off with black for base coat in the beginning, which kind of forgot to do that in the first place, because in traditional painting or sculpting, you can put like a base coat on there for like white, gray, or whatever, but black is like pretty much the good base coat for high detail to push out the color work. Kind of incorporated digitally. Not that you don't have to, but it does help in the long run. And that's the only reason I keep pure black, but the rest of my paints and coloring should not be pure black. In my opinion. Because if you just keep it to the base coat over here, and just keep it to base color and just show off the lighting for now, well, yeah, I'm not sure if the lighting would work here. Nah, if the lighting doesn't work here. Pretty much you may get some interesting results later on down the road. Because I was wondering, like, there are some things that are lighter than it shouldn't be. And I was like, oh, wait, forgot to put the base coat. Because that's the way I do things. I think we have had some interesting yellow things going on. There's some things wasn't expecting, but then it's kind of helping me out a bit. It's mastery surprise. This is a good early start for it. And then the dirt. Yeah, the dirt will just like kind of change my mind on the dirt. Maybe we'll incorporate. I'm not sure. We'll put the dirt at for now. And for now, we're just gonna put this G. Let's call it base. So we'll fold that up. And I think we'll start adding the eyes in shortly. I'm just gonna put this as a new paint layer here. Did it do it? Oh, not yet. And then we're gonna go over here, symmetry. And then eyes, starting point for the eyes. And then, but actually, it would be smart if I do the fill, so then I can change the color anytime. So let's not do that. So let's do over here, fill here. Put this in the folder here. Eyes, base. And then we'll just create a mask on top of it. And now what we can do is now we can start painting on top of it. That would be cool. Now we got something to work with. For now, I think we'll keep it to like here. I just need to see where I'm going. Ah, I see. No. This is the wrong section. That's why I ain't doing it. Alrighty. And then we'll have to add generator. There we go. Gradient. And then now it'll appear. Alright, looking good so far. So now I think I'm going to work on the looping textures for these. And get some, maybe we could get some more of the something on the skin. So we're gonna launch Clip Studio Paint. Okay, so we're gonna do some new folder, and then we're gonna call these alpha textures. And then just gonna be some of them is gonna be tileable. So we're gonna use my new plus from Power Toys thing I made up. Sticker simple search for there should be a ribbon texture maker. There we go. We're going to use that template because it can also be a texture maker for that too as well. I'm going to call this splash paint. And it's all pretty much all black and white and stuff. Alrighty, so I hit Control 4 to get it activated, so now we're on the roll. So now we can lock this down, and then we can start using it. So we do want to create something like free variants of these, so we're going to take our time to create some circles and shapes, and we can distort them too as well. I always go for free of a kind for variations of textures. And we're going to be playing with them shortly. And then what we can do now is that when we create our new fill bucket, it can be outside of here. For now, we're just going to call it for anything. And then add black mask. And add fill. Let's see, we can do something about this. And, tiling. So something like that will be interesting. Oh, see that? We get something cool like this. And then next we can get something similar to have like my concept right over here. Something similar like that. So that's like what I was aiming for. So yeah, it's looking kind of there. We just gotta control it now. For color selection, and then P for select, and then yep, it'll be over here, and then we're just gonna put that as a fill. Ah, interesting. What if this is a pass through? Okay, normal, pass through. Because the fill layer doesn't do like that for color, unless this is the folder over here, and then I put the mask over here. That would only make sense if it was a mask right here. Then I can do something. There we go. Now we're in control. We're going to call this splash. And now it will just repeat everywhere as a loopable. We can even rotate this too as well. So we got many advantages. And then what we can do, Control C, Control V. We can duplicate this and then put it as first splash over here. I mean, for now we're going to have separate colors of this. We should color code this. Because we're getting some sort of interesting effect going on. If we're going to add some height in here, could do something like this. Oh, now that's interesting. add some depth in here. Could do that. For now, we'll just have it different colors for now until we figure out what we need to do with it. Strand 1, strand 2, and then strand 3. And then we'll adjust the colors in there. For now, we'll just put it as purple or blue or something. Oh, this actually, if this was animated though, like in a game engine, that would make some interesting textures if we get to move those like that. That would be super cool. I wonder in Blender would that be possible? Because if it's something moving like this, that would be cool as hell. And all it has to do is just rotate. And this can move back and forth. Now, that gives me a question. Should I even bake this on the texture? Because if it bakes on the texture, then it'll be static, of course. So, let me do some deep dive research. So, I did a little bit searching about the whole Blender tileable animation thing, so I think we should leave some remnants of the patterns we made, but then one of them can be the animated thing in Blender for sure. Because if we have all three coming out all at once, it would be very, very overcomplicated to have that over that. But maybe just one, because I kind of like the blue strand textures to do so. So we have something in mind. Alrighty, so I'm going to turn all of these into alphas properly, so now I'll be able to use it for my Substance Painter brushes. So simple process basically do Control I, which is invert, and then new fill, and then since we're in black, we hit G and we fill like that. And this is my alpha, and that's it. And then all we have to do is export them. So it's just a long process of that. Alrighty. So I imported my alphas over here, so now we can make some brushes and stuff like that. Onto this, so just hide all the folders over here for now, and I think we're on the line work one, so we get to paint over top of it. We're gonna definitely need symmetry on this one. So, and then we'll pick out a base brush for now. Alright, and let's see. I think it will, oh, crosshatch, okay. So then we can create based on that. We just gotta change the, to the, pen, see what we get. Different one, we may have to rotate this, 90 degrees or to get like a different results here. Not 90. And see how it works. Okay, so it's a little bit messy. But I can see a lot of potential in this. Okay, it's a good sign. And if we want to export this, there should be an option somewhere to do that. Create a brush preset. New brush preset, and then we can rename it to Hatch Manual. And we're going to do this to all the other brushes too. And we're going to search for this. Crosshatch Manual. We'll select that. And then what we're going to do is export resource. And we're going to export this brush to my digital brushes and then Substance Paint. And for now, we're just going to put this in here. Alright, and yeah, I'm going to take some time to create some brushes, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, I've made some of my brushes now, and now it has some functions I can do with them now as well, in case if I need to do any other extra work with crosshatch and paint and stuff. I don't know, but for this one, I might want to do the crosshatch manually for this one, because this only works if it's like a stamp like around in the masked area if you're trying to do super massive stuff. I mean, this will be great as like a final polish touch when you're doing certain things with this. And then you can get it that way. And that's how you could get like easily like body crosshatches done to save time. It all depends at the end of the day. Because sometimes it depends on the shape too as well. Because sometimes this would work and sometimes it doesn't, so. We'll have to see. For now, I'm just going to get my custom pen that I made and just focus on the... Because I made a dry pen. Certain things in that. And flat pen. So we're going to focus on flat pen and dry pen. Because for the dry pen, I think I want to focus on the crease of the line work. In certain areas, I think I would have to... Yeah, something like this. And then if I want to use the dry pen, I could do something like that. Which I do love, kind of like it's also a value of its own too as well. Okay, so we are close to being done texturing it. We just gotta add a few things, which we're gonna go back to Clip Studio for. We're gonna add the eyes assets first, and then the symbolic stuff on the body. And especially stuff over here too as well. And then we'll be almost ready to go to export all this. So, I could approach this by mainly using a texture to paint it, but I think I would rather use an alpha this time to create what I need. Because if I do if I do like a little bit of painting over there and that, yeah, I get more opportunities to change the color in the system here. That's for sure. And if I go do that, then the emissive would be a wild card. I'll have more gradient controls in painting for sure. And then I can reuse the mask anytime that I like. Alright, we'll try to do the alpha way then. Do the alpha way. We're just gonna go fill layer here, and for now we're just gonna have base color, not anything else. Call this I1. Actually, leave this to fill too. I'm gonna put a folder within a folder. I1, and then create black mask, and then add paint. And we'll switch over to the eye here. I'm going to start off with this one. And we don't need symmetry for this one, but we'll do something about it shortly. And then we'll just base it off of this one. And then we'll go back to add the tilings layer to it, of a color. We'll start off with yellow, or maybe this yellow. Put a black mask on that one. Generator. Oh, there we go. And then get rid of all this. I'm going to do some color adjusting. Alrighty, so these are his eyes. Maya. We got different eye types here. Alright, so then lastly, we just need to add the symbols around the body. And then we can get started with the fire animation. And I don't think this one we need any symmetry. And we just need a G. And that's we need to create based on our reference. the weird ones over here, so it doesn't leak out over through. Looks good to me over this side and that side too. Normal, still normal, good. Alrighty. I think this is like a good point to export things. Yep. So I think this is good enough, and then we'll head back to Blender after this, and well, actually, we need to head to Clip Studio first, so we're gonna fast forward to right there. Alrighty guys, so I am going to try to learn to do some 2D animation because I barely do any 2D animations for certain stuff, but this specific case scenario, I am going to use Clip Studio Paint for this reason, because I do need a 2D spray to just have a loopable thing, so I thought why not just a simple 1 second that runs on 12 frame rates per second. Not bad for trying out the animation part of it manually to make it stylized, but the whole goal is just to make a fire, but the colors will be gradient, of course, because I think I'll match the simplicity of the style. I'm not going to go overboard for every picture or frame just to color in certain cell blocks. I just need the shape and draw out the shape. So I did look up some tutorials on YouTube how to set it up, the animation stuff for Clip Studio Paint, and some tutorials about 2D fire, so yeah, wish me luck, and I'm running a Clip Studio time-lapse of it so you can see like a full process of me figuring things out. Alright, and I'll see you right back when we get to Blender. Alright guys, so I am back. Just want to give you a small quick update. So I just laid out some of my sketches over here with a fire. So what my plan is now is that since I put in my UV grid, I'm planning to turn this into an alpha animation, so when the opacity hits, the opacity would change the shapes in Blender. So when it would do that, this is just an early sketch of a fire, and most likely when I threw it in Blender to test how it would react, it's going to obviously stretch around here, so I marked the colors like around like red and green, so I know where the flame's kind of like, it's going to stretch out. So when it comes into play, the fire will be like remain there, and then I'm just gonna have a separate image layer, which is the gradient, but just combine them into Blender, and we'll do it that way, so it just makes it easier on our end. But overall, yeah, this is like some interesting stuff going on. But yeah, it's just the reason why the fire is like a little bit weird in the animation. It's because yeah, I had to distort it in a way to see where would the UVs hit to make the fire sense more. So once it's out there, it will be much more believable. It's just the way my UVs are. So I had to keep like, okay, you can start breaking things around in green, but keep it, the yellow will just represent what's going to be seen on the edges. So that means not worry about that too much, but the red means much more like it's going to spontaneously have a fire burst to come out there. So just something for me to keep in track of. Because the reality is, if it was a real 2D fire, it wouldn't be like some kind of like squarish, but I have to keep it that way to control the shape in the 3D program. But yeah, just some updates. Alrighty, so I am back, and we got some like fire going on here, so I just recently finished this to put the animation in together. Overall, it was a very interesting experience. I mean, I did use some lasso technique and blur just to do this, but yeah. This is like going to be the results anyways from it, so when we export it, it's going to be a little bit distorted anyways, which is exactly what we want, so that's kind of why there's like a bit more white fill over there, so it'll take advantage of it where the UVs are to shape and mold this thing, and this is going to be like an opacity sequence thing. Apologies for the sunlight a little bit being a little bit brighter on the camera, but I'm sure it'll go away soon. But yeah, so I did export of this as a flip book over here. So I'm going to go to the sequence export over here. So this is what's going to play out over here. And this will be some kind of like infinite loop that I'll have it being played constantly going on and on. Okay, so I did found this plugin over here that will help us get our flame animation going in Blender, which is this node wrangler here. So we're gonna enable this right over here, and I think we're gonna leave this by default over here. I think, yeah, just keep this node wrangler enabled in here, and we're just gonna hit X out over here. So now we can get the fling thing going. So now, I think the next thing we'll have to do is, let's see. I think we'll have to go through the shading thing, the shading process of this. Here we go. I'm going to select this item. And we're going to bring all the materials down over here. And then I think we're supposed to find something. Okay, and apparently, so we're going to search for image sequence. And we're going to go find that. It will be here somewhere. I think not in Blender Flipbook. Oh, nope. Oh, God. Hit the wrong button. Towards image sequence. There we go. And this will be some kind of alpha of here. So if I'm able to plug in the alpha over here, I wonder how this would change. So we would need to figure that out. Refresh. It does sense the frames here. Alright, what if I just put in I just need to see if it works first. For now, we'll just disconnect, we'll disconnect the alpha first, but this is definitely going to be an alpha. Okay, hold on. The image is not showing on here for whatever reason. Go back. That is weird. Now it's not showing at all. Go back a little bit. Alright, there we go. I guess it broke something in the beginning, but I don't know. But I rewind, so we're good. We just need to see how far this goes. For fire. Okay, so actually I was supposed to hit play. And then you see if a fire's going. So something like that. And then we can see if we'll circle around there. It looks like to me it's, yeah, it's going like really fast though. But we'll figure out a way to slow that down just a bit. And the fire is supposed to be just going to most likely look like this. So I know, yeah, technically it is working, so that's good. That's a good sign. For sure. Okay, so now I know the frames are going. Hit File, Save As. Now, I want to figure out a way where we can control the alpha on this. What the? Okay, interesting. It's very fuzzy when it does that. Oh, yeah, I think we gotta set the frame rates to a certain key shape. Because I think it's by default it's 24. We're gonna need 60. Okay, so I found it right over here, so it's gonna be over the output here, and then you just select change the frame rates to 60. It was on 24, so I found like, nah, that's not what we need. And let's see here. Because so far when we play throughout the whole thing, this is like, the alpha is not really great. It's like very blurry and stuff like that. So I have to figure out that too as well. Okay, so just a few updates in my projects over here. So apparently, when I imported this, Blender doesn't see this as an alpha, so that was the main issue why it wasn't showing up. So it all sees this animation as like this one huge color thing. So we would need to figure out a way how to tell Blender to move the color information as alpha, to register it as in real alpha. Okay, so after re-importing the colors again, I think I got the thing else working. So now about the opacity issue, it technically was resolved in a way. So if I hit the final shader for this, it won't do that kind of stuff. So that's actually good on our part here. So at least now it can be fine once it hits the rendering stage, I guess. But we'll have to figure out something else too on top of it with when we set up a green screen and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll set it like a little animation thing to slow down the file for sure. Because everything else seems pretty good so far. So the little update to this. So, of course, if I mainly globally to change the frame rates back to 12, you can see that the flames will actually play nicely. See that in its like normal rhythm beat. So that's what we kind of want when we have this model like play around and once have it as that flame going on. Because since it's designed to be 12 frame rates per second, the only workaround I can see is that if there's a manual way to find like a shader option where I could slow down it. If not, then I might have to create fake frames by just duplicating some of my images like 4 more times, just to slow down the flame while in 60 Hertz. Okay, so I discovered an alternative. So instead of just duplicating the images, because that would be like too tedious, I'm going to use the dope sheet just to create the texture loop from here. So what we'll do is that it'll intentionally force the thing in a way to slow down the offset, so it plays in normal animations in 12 frames per second, which I would feel this would be much more efficient. And then I can keep repeating this same thing over and over again. So long as I have it over here, it's set this over frames to 1, but it'll change by 1 every per linearly. So if I shift click over here and just like clean it up a bit, go hit linear and right click and then handle type, vector, then it's just more straightened out. And I can select these two and then just Control C. Actually, Control C. Alright, let's see if it works. And then you can just go over here and then hit paste. And then the loop will repeat automatically. And then go paste. And then paste. And then we can just move on from my life. So in a way it's kind of looping, but in case I need to like span it more, which I think I could. Because how many seconds is this here? Now, I think I'll only imagine to spam like this a bit too much of it there, but overall, we don't like really need too much of it. But just in case in the future, if like a bit longer animation loop, then it's just safeguard over here, so I don't want to do too much extra work. And this will just keep on, like, in a way, kind of looping infinitely. And I think one more, and then it should be fine. Alright, there we go. So now when it goes all the way up to the end, it goes up to the end here, and I think that should be fine. Because when it plays, let me just hit save as here. Because when it plays, then I'll just have this loop over here. And I would say that would be good enough. And then, yeah. Perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, we got fire! We got fire. And then now the next stage we can do is just add the rig into it, and then the textures into it. And then we'll be close enough to get ready for this for animation soon. I think the only thing that we need to adjust the keyframes at is just the I could use image sequence to change the eyes textures, though. For certain scenarios. That could work. That could work. But then there's also this other method, but I think the image sequence would be it for us for that kind of stuff. Because I'll have to at one point kind of enable a certain area, but then stop at this certain area when doing it. I think because that could be it when you combine those two. Or a fraction at least. And then you can have it flip-flopped. Alrighty guys, I am back, and I just want to let you know about my progress a little bit so far with this thingy. So I did manage to get the flames to work a little bit. We're reusing the Eevee shader for that, and yeah, so far it's looking good with the... I added a little bit of the outline shader thing, but most of it I kind of prefer some of the stuff of the PBR method with the stylization. But I kind of mix them in a little bit of NPR stuff with Blender. But it's also not bad so far. I haven't started the rigging process for this thing yet, so I will be doing that soon. But hey, if you're new to my channel or stuff like that, I definitely recommend checking out the part 1 of this video of the sculpting part of the process. And it's actually pretty much interesting experience with Blender, so... yeah, I think I'm doing well. Yeah. Last night I did spend setting the fire up, so, and then figuring out how to play with Blender's toon shaders a little bit. But I didn't have to do not as much toon shading to worry about because most of my textures are just already pretty much baked in Substance, so it wasn't that much a big deal. But before I start rigging, I'm going to launch a little bit of a graph application to make my estimates. Because there is a separate app that I can see. I can have it kind of almost like auto rigging, but I still want to build from scratch, but I just have something as a reference to base on of. Hold on. I think the size is different. So let me reload to a different character of my model. I'll just use the centimeter version because it was probably getting an area that it wasn't there. Nah, that just makes it look crazy. I'm writing my diary while watching your stream, dude. If your game does get as popular someday, will you credit you? Oh, well, I mean that depends. I mean that'll be considered as a commission at that point. But you know what's weird? I select any of this and then the phone. No, I'll probably have to move the whole. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to move the whole thing. At least it was better than before. Typo. Oh, okay, understandable. Now overall, since this is gonna be my little draft graph thing, we're only gonna take certain screenshots positions where I can see where the bones are by default, and then we'll recreate the bones in Blender. Because what I did for my other creature that did all the rigging, I kind of was thinking about using AccuRig, but then kind of realized that the extra bones I created would just end up creating a lot of work, so it would be better off to create from scratch. But however, it does a good job for when it comes to prototyping stuff. Before you make the commitments of which sides it needs bones. Also, your mic is lagging. Oh, it is? Alright, can anyone hear me still if the mic is still working? Maybe I just need to speak a little closer. I think it was a slight, signal thing, but my bitrate is kind of green and yellowish, so it's going back and forth a little bit. I think it's just trying to stabilize. Alright, and then let me say rig left hand, and then I wonder if I can tell this thing too. So it's taking all the thingies over there. Alright, I'm just curious how the bones laid out in here, if that's all that matters. Because I know what it's doing. So the way the machine auto weight paints it, it's not seeing but recognizing this as part of this, so there's no weight in there, so it's just stretching the fingers. Oh no, I think I'm the one lagging, kinda confused. Okay. It's hilarious though, the machine thing. But it also gives me an idea where it's going to go up and down. And also check with the stretching too though. I think the posture of my model is like between an A to a T, because I didn't really lift up those arms too much on my other ones, but that's fine. I wonder how the body will turn, to be honest. Yeah, well, I'll definitely need to do pretty much some modifications of the weight paint for sure. Once I make this from scratch for sure, because it's gonna have like some things gonna communicate. Oh, it looks like I'm not gonna have that much problem with the head, but the fingers are easily fixable manually, so I'm not worried about that. It's just, yeah. It looks like the wrist and the hands at the right spot, so that was a good insight for me on my half. Yeah, and the legs are fine too as well. Yeah, I think the machine's just confused on the weight paints between the fingers. But overall, I do like where the position is at for the other parts of the body. Because the head is fine still. It's not twisting like anything like crazy. Yeah, making 3D models will take days and hours, right? The details and everything. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. The only reason why he's mini, because just to shorten up the time to like get the product done in like 3 to 4 weeks. So this is, I would say this is week 3. And by the time when I reach the 4th week, I should have like most of my animations done. It depends on the scope too as well, because if you're working on like a high fidelity character like they did on my other previous project, the minimum for the sculpture to be, and the textures to be done in the also the retopology would be between 7 to 8 weeks or 7 to 9 weeks. It depends on how detailed it is. And then you would still add like additional 3 to 4 weeks of the time of rigging and weight painting for that, and also get it to do how many animations you want depending on your scope. So, but I think it'll be easier just yeah, that's if you want to go like more detail with stylized characters. Because if you're making a much more like high anatomy female characters, then you also have to worry about the jiggle physics too as well, and other things too as well. I mean, you could still do jiggle physics on this guy. It's just that you would set to place it somewhere around here. But the jiggle physics is optional. Yeah. But as for tiny ones like these, since if it's like that size and that, it does cut off like most of half of the time to work on it, but still I would have to apply some detail level. So that's why when I had my idea to make my star characters and the art style still the same as mine, but keep them all chibi in the video game, so I could cut down time in modeling and just focus on the game itself and just not a little bit over too much of my style work itself. But every now and then, I think if I do get some free time, I do have some ideas of how I want to make my own screensavers to put on Gumroad. I do have some ideas though, and then I'll probably figure out which characters I want to choose to have one highly detailed to do like certain loops in the for a PC background. That's one of my brainstorm ideas though. And usually this tool some people use it as like the very backbone to speed up their work first if they want to export the bones and stuff. But it all depends. Because the last time when I export something like this, it multiplied the bone structure to like 4 times or 3 times. And it just makes it like a bit more complicated than it was. And then what I did instead is that I referenced this, and then it worked out fine. Because usually some people like to keep their bones offset in Blender, while I usually prefer to keep my bones jointed together. And then the only issue with this is that I won't be technically... I mean, I know there's Rigify and stuff that you can export animations and stuff to make things easier. But, I don't know, I feel like it's much more fun to... just to create the controls to create your own animations instead. Because, I think that would only work for specific amount of bones on for specific structures, so it's a little bit tricky, but those are other ways to save time. But I just usually just prefer to make my own animations. So now I just got to get this into position to camera. Here, I'm gonna turn off the wireframes though. Technically I would need some shots with this. But overall, I was, after doing this little avatar modeling test, I was right about reducing the time for like half of that for the time of sculpting down to 2 to 3 weeks, and instead of like doing a high render version of it. So that will allows me to give my more time to produce the other characters. But I still have plans to use the 2D concept characters for other things. Probably for maybe for like some illustration or something. So this was much more like reviewing over the Blender sculpting and modeling part. Because I used to model stuff in ZBrush though, so the only thing anything else I was trying to learn further from Blender was kind of like figuring out those buttons translate different from my hard skills to there. Because to let myself to get comfortable with Blender, I started with the animation part first before I worked my way through to actually do the modeling in Blender. Because you can actually put some alpha brushes if you want to and make some tertiary forms, but I would rather do it in Substance because it'll just make it easier to rig at the end of the day when it comes to low poly stuff. But if you got like any like future small emoji requests in the future that I could possibly do, I could do something with him with that. Because I think only Discord allows to do still images though. And then you have to have Nitro to put in like GIFs. Unless I make the GIFs all like openable to use. When as for Twitch, though, I'll have to wait until I reach to a certain point where I'm able to get something out of it. Or YouTube. Well, at least I'll have those prepped in advance, and then I can just throw those in. And then I'll have, like, notifications, too, and that. We'll think of something soon. And I'll just actually have an emoji for a request. Okay, that's fine. No worries. I'll figure it out. I like gore games. You know, Mortal Kombat, and I mostly play Melon Sandbox on my phone. Yeah, I think the The older Mortal Kombat games fun. I find MK9 and MKX and MK11 and then those games were fun. I haven't played MK1 yet, but based on other people's opinion, it's very mixed. I think it's more story-wise versus the gameplay, but the gameplay looks decent enough. Because what's kind of funny to me, after more sequels to Mortal Kombat, as there's as the sequels get dragged on, this game slowly, the plot hole slowly starts to become more hilarious when we start to introduce time travel a lot. Oh yeah, I played Insomniac Spider-Man. Yeah, I played up the whole game on the hardest difficulty, and I enjoyed it because since since Spider-Man has like Spidey sense and stuff like that, technically the game mechanic of the Spidey sense was so good that as long as you 100% trust your Spidey sense, basically the difficult would means absolutely nothing. You just basically most likely spamming and dodging or just parrying often to opponents. And then you can easily just beat them up and that's it. And the only thing that's going to affect you is that how fast are you going to see your Spidey sense. Because I had the muscle memory. Yeah. I only played it the first one, but I haven't played the Miles Morales or the second one. But I've seen clips of the second one. Yeah, but the gameplay is really good. Yeah, Miles kind of complicated, but I'm glad my dad bought Miles after buying me Spider-Man 2. Yeah, because it seems like Miles has like other powers too. That does help. But the symbiote suit was basically the main recipe for all of it. Because it was like the new toy mechanic that you can just be indestructible with the tentacles. Well, they probably had to balance that out because they have to make the symbiote suit much more powerful somehow. Because they were probably expecting the users to use the black suit more often than just the regular Spider-Man combo attacks. Is it easier if you have experience? Oh wait, I write everything in the diary and drawing to pretty sure digital writers is better than traditional one. Easier if you experience traditional. Yeah, it's definitely a much fun, easy experience to do traditional at first. I mean, if you're looking for more of the insights to understand better foundations, then I would recommend starting off traditional first, and then slowly work your way up to digital. Because at the end of the day, it is true that digital is superior than traditional, but it does help to learn traditional, so you get an idea of your foundations first, and then you can build your skills up on digital after that. Because, for example, if you knew about traditional sculpting with Super Sculpty or played anything around that, you would have to start off the paint out with a certain layer coat. You can either choose a white, gray, or black. And the black coat would basically help out with your texture stuff. So when I did my stuff in Substance Painter, I started off with a black coat, and then I add the textures on there with the certain opacities, so it can bring up the texture value and volume together. Because if I do open my Substance Painter, and then if I go back, it does show up to like certain early points to it. And if you also did some research about painting, because painting technically has like their own kind of like web structure around how its surface would just bounce around with each other. When I first saw your stream in digital art, it was insane. Oh yeah, the DSOs were cool too. Yeah, yeah. I still have some traditional sketches around. Yeah, It's just that I haven't touched my other sketches lately, but I do have some unfinished sketches though. Now I know for rigging they do have a face pull bone at the bottom, or a key bone, or it has to be grounded first. So I'm thinking, where would that be? It's like, I think it's called like a foot bone or something. Now I need to figure out how to split this. Unless I just hit delete bones. And then I'll just create a new bone based on this. I'll leave that alone for now, because since that's technically the root bone. Snacking. You're snacking on the nuts there. I just finished the bone architecture, so now I just gotta get the mesh to paste on there, and then away we go with the weight paint soon. But overall, we got like 54 bones, and I spent some time organizing all of these because it's required. And it goes down like a super ladder though. These hierarchies, man. Yeah. At least I don't want to do that much anything with the head, because this is all just going to be image based. Who knows? I might, for the next time, probably when I actually make the game character models, I might bring back the ton joint thing, and maybe have some sort of like 3D animation for that, or just have something 2D that appears and disappears, or figure out a simpler way to do it. But yeah. This is good enough for now. And then when I hide my rig bones, I can hide it right here. Okay, so I gotta tell this to not to be part of this. So it's easier to judge with controllers. I don't know, I feel like, did they phase out colors in bones, like color assigning, because you can assign stuff already here. They probably phase out color, or color's still probably optional to add in for organization's sakes. It's just that they probably buried it because since they have an easier feature to control your organization of bones. All right, and then we're gonna tell this to assign bones from here. Oh no, not there. there. Sign. So we gotta also tell that too as well. Sign. So when it appears, this all appears here. And then disappear, appear, disappear, disappear, and appear here. Okay. I'm gonna make them all appear for now. Because we gotta get this like all together. I mean, the cool thing about Blender is that there's now more tutorials with in case if you forget certain buttons that since it's free. But with Blender and ZBrush, with ZBrush and Maya, I mean you can still look up certain things, but they do bring valid certain points when they talk about more things because they have like a bit more like experience when talking about certain things. But the problem is that there's not many tutorials there because they're like a paid subscription, so it's less accessible to people who doesn't have that barrier. But so I think it would have mattered like a few years from now because the way things are going with Blender, since they're still getting donated and funded, it could really stand in the competition. Yeah, at least I don't have to worry about too much with the cloth around here. Just needs a few adjustments. And then this can just chow down here. And then let's see. What I have to do when we're trying to do some pose library, if I want to make some quick fist or gestures, I'll have to create that from scratch though. Especially with fingers too. Because usually, automatic weight paints only becomes your enemy if you have like a lot of items. You can see from that, and see how it twists this over here. So now there's some responses back over here though. Alrighty, so I made some of these edits for weight paints. Now this is probably the best I could do at the moment with the technologically trying to manipulate this weight paint for something like that, because there's certain areas that there's certain limitations in that, but it does a pretty good job trying to hide majority of the things and stuff like that, so it won't cause too much a ruckus when doing it. Go over here and over here. Oh, I can see some of it went out over here, but that's an easy fix. But yeah. And then the rest of it, it's going to be more animation posing and stuff. Alrighty, so you reached to the end of the video of my work in progress here. So I am going to do the animation part on a separate video, but it will be much more of like a finalized version of it, and then I'm planning to have like some shorts to show some behind the scenes process to that animation to that point. I think I'm going to try to make some live stream notifications, kind of an animation GIF thing, and also some intros and be right back screens, just to utilize my new model that I created for myself. And if you made it this far, congratulations. I hope this video was very interesting, that even though my process and videos are long, they're designed to be like you can skip left or right or there. But if you enjoy today's video, just leave a like down below and comment what's your favorite part. And have a good day.